probably entered through the door looking for what was planted inside me.
Well, hello. This is Donna Reiners. I'm glad to be with you. I'm glad you're with me. Today we are talking about the supernatural. Love, love, love. When we talk about our real life, which is the inside life, versus the outside life, which is more in agreement with the materialistic world we live in, right? So, some supernatural experiences. I wonder if you've had any. If you have had some and you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what it is you think or feel has been supernatural for you, what you think or feel was communicated by that supernatural experience. That'd be an amazing thing to hear back from you on. We can all learn from each other, right? So, a supernatural experience that took place about 20 years ago or so. I was laying on a couch, I was fully awake, and I saw my body shift and start floating up in the air. And then it started doing somersaults. So it did some somersaults and then it came back down and landed back on the couch. And then it rose back up and did some more somersaults and then landed back on the couch. And then it kept up and down until I was through my ceiling of my home, headed through the attic on my way to outside my house. Now, mind you, I'm fully awake. I'm not sleeping. And I am filled with the most amazing, inexplicable joy you could ever think of. It was, wow, I'm so happy and I'm deliriously excited about life and living and everything that's going on. And inside me, this is happening while I have this supernatural experience. And then as I was lifting through the roof, I had the thought, well, what if I can't get back home? And guess what happened? My body fell through back into the couch, and I did not have that experience again. And often I've wondered what would have happened had I not just allowed that, but had I gone with it, had I experienced it, had I gone wherever it is my spirit was taking my body. I was having an out-of-body experience, but yet it was my body all at the same time. Again, I was awake. For me, I would consider that a supernatural experience. What about you? Would you call that a supernatural experience? Another example, when I was a little girl, probably 5, 6 years old, I had this voice speak to me from the inside and invite me to come on a journey. I knew that that voice was attached to the one who had created me. I knew that it was my creator. And what did I do? I said no. I said no to the opportunity for an adventure with the one who created me. Why do I think that was a supernatural experience? Honestly, I'm not sure. Because it's as real as this that we're having together now. But at the time, as a little girl, and honestly at the same time, when I think about it, it felt natural that I was even having a conversation with this voice inside. And so it seems to me more than likely I was accustomed to having a conversation with a voice inside that created me. And because it wasn't new, maybe it's not as supernatural as I thought it was. And maybe it's not as supernatural as you might think it is now. I don't know. But I said no to the opportunity of a lifetime of having an adventure with the one who lived inside me, the one who created me, the one who knew how I was made, the one who knew what made me tick. I said no. One of the directions I knew I was being invited into was supernatural gifts that now as an adult, I believe are more natural than supernatural, but yet at the time as a little kid, knowing things on the inside of me, I knew who was going to come to the door. I knew who was calling on the phone. Now, there was a church world that would say that was witchcraft. But I challenge that dogmatic, indoctrinated decision and opinion that was witchcraft. Why? Because I was talking with the one who created me. Who do you think gives you the giftings? Who do you think made you? Who do you think helps you think outside the box? Who do you think gives you knowings? Who do you think helps you understand what's happening on the other side of the world? Who do you think helps you understand what's happening inside of someone's heart? It's the one who created you. The one who made you knows everything about you. The one who made you knows everything about everyone else. The one who made you connected with everyone. The God within you, the creator within you who created the person that you're thinking about, that created the city that you're thinking about, that created the nation that you're thinking about, that created the people group that you're thinking about, lives inside of them, lives inside of you. So therefore, there's a oneness. Sometimes I think that is what has to do with the passage that talks about weeping when others weep and rejoicing when others rejoice, because we do it at the same time. There's a place in the subconscious, in the place inside that we don't like to access. And what do I mean by that? I mean, because we like to live by the materialistic world. What world is that? That's the world where you call the doctor every time you have an ailment. Or even you call your holistic practitioner every time you have an ailment. It's a place where you look for an answer outside of you because you don't trust the voice inside of you who created you. Instead, you trust the opinion, the authority, the natural wisdom of the voice who lives inside of someone else to give you direction. Now listen, there are times when we have something that we know is leading us to access the voice inside another because we're one, because we need each other. But when that turns into someone that you think has a higher, I'm not necessarily talking about better, because there are places in the world where we have natural wisdom that is better than your natural knowledge because of what they've learned, the pathway they've taken, the wisdom they've gained through practical working on the planet that's really different than yours. But the supernatural space, that's a higher space. That's a space where you live from. That's a place where I call my spirit alive in Christ. That's my spirit alive in my Creator. That's the spirit alive in the one who made me, the one who gave me the voice to speak out, to share the goodness of love for a world. Another supernatural experience. A few years ago, I was awake and I was transported into a space where when I appeared in this space, I saw my mom, I saw my dad, and I saw two pastors that had passed away that I knew personally. And they were all laughing, and they were all joking, and they were all happy. My mom looked younger. Of course, she died when I was 18, so she was younger. She was in her 50s. Her earthly suit passed when she was 57. My dad's earthly suit passed when he was 81. But even in the encounter, my dad was younger than the 81 years old. He was nothing like he was when he passed away. He was a younger dad. He was a younger man. He weighed more than he did when he passed, because when he passed, he had lost a lot of weight due to what had afflicted him in the natural realm. My mom also had lost a lot of weight, and yet in this encounter, they were healthy. They were of a healthy weight, and they were lighthearted, and they were filled with joy. The two people that had passed on also that I had known were healthy. They weighed a good amount for their height, and they were full of joy. And they were clearly having a real experience that I got to come in and be a part of. It's like I was invited, but yet was I? I don't know. And when I appeared, over to my left, I saw the Christ, and I saw those that we refer to as the apostles. At least that was the impression I had. The impression I had was that they had been the original church starters, but along with them were also patriarchs that had gone on previously to them. And they were all gathered together in one area, and then here I am in this area. And it's like I knew that in that space I had a choice. It's like, who am I here to visit? I knew I was here to visit my mom. I knew that being with my mom was very special, was very significant, and it was not quite an assignment, but a choice I had to be with this woman that was my best friend on earth, that at the time, I believe, passed way before her time, that had loved me so well that I would say no one has loved me equally to her my entire life. And now we're going on 43, 44 years of her being gone. I knew I was there to encounter her. So this is my question. Was she also there to encounter me? Was there an exchange life that took place with this mom that now I had surpassed the age she was when she passed away? I don't know that, but I do know that I sat in her lap. I smelled her perfume. And on planet Earth, do you know the perfume she used to wear was called Heaven Sent? You can still find it. And it still smells the same because I purchased some a few months ago just because I wanted to smell it. It reminded me of her. And it was the same bottle it was when I grew up. Isn't that funny? The same thing that we would buy at the dime store, which never cost a dime. It always cost a little bit more. But it was considered a dime store growing up. It was like a little pharmacy, a little drugstore. And that's where she bought her perfume. And it looked just the same when I purchased it here this year. Also, another encounter I had a few years back, probably, I don't know, maybe 5+ years ago. Awake. I was awake. And I was in a situation with other people, and we were all considering the supernatural. And we were all in what we would call prayer. And we had set an intention to see what is it that God would have for us in that time together. And all of a sudden, I saw myself in complete darkness. Again, I'm awake. I'm in complete darkness, and I snapped my fingers, and the lights came on. Bam! And then I saw myself transported like the speed of light. I saw my body kind of like, not Shazam, but the movie Flash, where you see him move. I moved like that. And I found myself in a room, and I was a little girl. And I'd been writing on the blackboard. And I was starting here and writing, and heard the voice inside say, "You've started at the very beginning." And I don't have the words right now. I didn't think to get them until right this second, to be honest. But I got a little poem in that encounter. And it was about me starting at the beginning and me going to the end of this great big chalkboard. It was a chalkboard, not a dry erase board. It was a chalkboard. I was using chalk in the encounter. And I got all the way, literally filled up the entire blackboard, one line after another, after another, another, after another, another, all the way from one end to the other. It was a huge, 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 huge blackboard. And I was writing out code. I was writing out words. I was writing out things I didn't quite have English words for or understanding for. But I knew that I was moving in an eternal space. And when I got to the end of the blackboard with my writing, where there's no more room on that blackboard to write anything, I heard the voice again, "You're just at the very beginning." And then I was transported to a rose, a very huge rose, like a tree. And it was white, and it was soft. It was soft like a rose, like rose petals, because I was in an encounter with an actual rose. And in the encounter, the petals were larger than me. I'm in this rose, and I'm in a softness, and I'm in a pillowy state, and I'm in a place of complete rest. And I work my way through the rose petals like a little maze, but not a confusing maze. And I get to the outward part of the rose petal, and I'm looking, and I see a beach. And I see wind blowing, because you can see the trees blowing. And it's dark but lit all at one time. And I see myself standing next to my body that was laying on a, what do you call it? Like a lounge chair. And the body that was standing next to the body in the lounge chair was heavy. But the body in the lounge chair was of a good weight. I wasn't skinny, but I had dropped some weight. And I was a person in perfect peace, just resting in the lounge chair. And it was like I was watching myself in this lounge chair. It was almost like I was bringing instruction to myself, from myself, to the person in the lounge chair. And I remember breathing in and out and finding such peace and such strength and such life and such love. Then I was transported back to the rose tree, and I went down the rose tree, out of the rose tree. And what I went down on the rose tree, you know, roses and their stalks or stems have thorns. And what I was doing is I was stepping on the thorns going down, but they weren't painful, because they were large like a ladder. So I was stepping through the thorns down to the ground. And then I found myself out next to a lake, like a river, and beautiful green grass. There's a pasture that a passage that talks about green pasture. And it was a beautiful green. And again, it was a place of life. It was a place of rest. It was a place of peace. It wasn't necessarily a heavenly place, although, was it a heavenly place? I don't really know. But it gave me great peace. It's like I encountered love, like I encountered the person of love. And so those are some supernatural encounters I have now. I know already in my heart, I know that there are some that are going to watch this and they're going to say, well, what's the fruit of that? What's the fruit of those experiences? What was the result of those experiences? And I would just say that I experienced and encountered great peace in those experiences. And when you experience love and you encounter love and you encounter peace, it carries with you because it also came from you, because you are not outside of God. No one can be outside of God. If at any time, I want to share with you something. Let's say that this is God. Let's picture God on, I hate to use a piece of paper, but picture God on a piece of paper. And then picture yourself on that piece of paper. And picture the planets on that piece of paper. And picture galaxies on that piece of paper. Why? Because God created all of us. There is no way that we can exist outside of the one who created us, because we were created by the one who created us. I know, funny, right? But the one who breathes life is not outside breathing life on you. The one who breathed life lives inside of you, that created you. You know, there's a passage in Jeremiah that talks about how we're created inside our mother's womb. And I have had these kind of things. People have talked to me about this before. I've had academic type theologians say to me, well, you're not alive. You're not alive. You're dead. You're dead until you say yes to Jesus. So this is my question for those who live in the paradox of saying yes to the one who created you. When you're inside your mother's womb and you're being created by the Creator inside your mother's womb, and you have the blueprint that is put inside you, stem cells that created you with the blueprint and the design of the one who gives you life, the one who gave you breath, for whatever assignment you have on this planet and all the details that go with it. When that is happening, do you believe that you're created, and then after you are birthed, the one who creates you says, hey, I'm so glad we had this time together. I'll see you later. I'll know when you say yes to me, and then that's when we're going to talk again. But until that time, you're so on your own. You'll be okay. You don't need my spirit. This is what I believe. I believe that nobody can live without the breath of God. No one. That the breath, the literal ruach, the breath of the one who created us is the one inside of humanity. Now, does that mean that you know the one who lives inside of you? Does that mean you have said yes to the divine life, to the exchange that is made for you? I don't believe that. I believe that there are some who just wait until their dying breath to have any kind of encounter that includes them in the exchanged life that was meant for them. But I don't believe there's any human being on the planet that can live without the breath of God. Because we are created in the womb of our mothers by the breath, the very finger, the very heart, the very DNA, the very RNA, the very life of the Christ, the very one who we have been co-joined with from the beginning of time, where we lived, where we were birthed, and then where we were joined, and then where we were co-crucified, and then where we were co-buried, and then where we were co-resurrected, and then where we were co-ascended, and that we live in a space where again that took place thousands of years later. And that we again had opportunity, humanity had opportunity to live and move and breathe and have their being inside the one who lived and moved and breathed and had the being inside of them. And that space of resurrection, that space that was made for a bloodline to go through, that space that was made for this old covenant to be judged, and the Christ to live within, was simply a picture of what already took place. That's how I know that I know that I know that God gathers around people to love them, not to judge them. There is a person living inside of you supernaturally with encounters for you that are supernatural, that want, that the thought, the creator, the one who lives inside, wants it to be your natural life. The supernatural life is not supposed to be separate from the natural life, but we separate it. Kind of like years ago, someone came along and said, we need to separate church from state. I'm like, really? How can you separate yourself from the one who lives inside of you? Unless from an ignorant place or from an indoctrinated place, you've decided that you don't know the one who lives inside you unless you say yes to the divine exchange of the one living inside of you. Because I believe with all that's within me that the supernatural life is because the one who lives inside of you is the one who lives and moves and breathes inside of you, that has already said yes to you. That's already said yes to you before you ever said yes to the dress. Now listen, I'm going deep and I'm going real and I'm moving onward. Living inside the one who lives inside of us. Where do you think these creative ideas come from? There is nothing that can be created by darkness. Darkness is not a creator. The creator is love. The creator is life. The creator is light. We are light beings. You are made of light. Your body is made of infrared light. There is a spectrum of infrared light inside of you. I encourage you, if you ever have an opportunity in the United States, to go to a place called the Houston Museum of Natural Science. Call ahead to make sure that the display is still there. But there's an entire floor devoted to energy. That energy includes energy outside in the planets. The energy also includes that within you. Did you know you are layers upon layers upon layers upon layers upon layers until you get to the nano part of you? And then the smaller than the nano part is another part, and smaller than that part is the smallest part. And that's only what we've discovered. That doesn't mean that's all. That's only what we have discovered. Why? Because that's what they can see. That's what can be seen. So we still look at what we see as the end all when it's not. And do you know what's so interesting about what you can see, even though it is all the way so deep inside that you cannot see it with your natural eyes? Is that it is not controlled by gravity. There's nothing in our earthly measurement that controls that space inside of you that is so tiny that it can't be measured. And do you know what shifts that space inside? Do you know what has been seen by the powers that be, by the scientists that take on the opportunity to explore space? We think about exploring space here, but what about the space inside of us? There's a space inside of you and me that others really truly want to see. They have found that the mind can shift the space inside. That's right. That holistic space, that biofield, that energetic world, that place where we are light, that place where life flows through us, that you can see on a machine created. You can see it. But what about you can't see? What about what is not seen inside of you and what not seen inside of me that we actually have the authority to speak to? The subconscious, the space inside that we don't understand, that most stay away from because they want a religious word to define it. They want a religious word to make a definition on it. There are no religious words that can define the space inside because we were created by a creator that is not defined by humanity. We cannot define the one who created us. There is no word for it. There's no word for the one who created us. Oh, we have books and we have texts and we have ancient scripts that we look to, but that's just the beginning of man looking at and finding definition for and writing out what they believe they're inspired by. But do you believe that was really the beginning of the creator? Do you really believe that was the beginning of the one who fathered humanity, the one who fathered the earth, the one who fathered the planets, the one who fathered space, the one who fathered the universe, the one who fathered the galaxies, the one who gives us insight to see beyond the Pluto that was at one time the only thing that was seen? Do you really think that that is it? Do you think that we are defined by one book? Do you really feel that that's it for you? If that's all there is for you, then and you're content in the space of where you're learning and leaning into other people's knowledge, then you be there and you stay there and you live there and you'll be loved no less and no more. But I believe on this planet, there's time to explore. That we're here to explore. We're here to explore ourselves. We're here to explore the planets. We're here to explore the galaxies. We're here to explore the life of the one who lives inside of us, because the life of the one who lives inside of us is the life that we live outside of us as well, because that is the bigness of the one who created us. I don't know how much sense this makes to you, but this is what I know. You have to go by what resonates on the inside, not what makes sense up here in the mind. You can't go by what you've been taught. You can't go by definitions that man has given you. That is not the life of the Spirit. The life of the Spirit is beyond the thoughts and the ideas and the definitions and the education and the intellect of mankind. So, what is my question? Have you tapped into the supernatural world living inside of you, or are you afraid that you'll enter into some kind of dark matter? Are you convinced that the life and the light and the love and the life of the one who created you can lead and guide you over the river and through the woods? If you are, there is no fear in that space. Why? Because fear is the opposite of love, and love is who leads us, and love is who guides us, and love is who created us, and love is who helps us encounter more and more of the one who lives within us. Love is the one that helps us encounter and to move forward in life and love and living. There is an eternal life that we have. There's a passage in the old covenant text called Jacob's Ladder, and it talks about beings going up and down, angels going up and down. Well, if angels can go up and down, and they, according to the text that many think is just the end all, according to human definition, according to what we have defined it by, they think that's it. If angels can go up and down and in and out, why can't we, if we are spirit, if we are supernatural, what keeps us from the symbolism of the ladder going up and down? That is my question. What keeps you from knowing you, and what keeps you from knowing the life of the God within you? It's just you, because I believe that God is got this eternal, this infinite, this unlimited place where he invites us into this relationship that breaks all the rules of a book and takes us on an exploration into the space inside and the space outside. So I just invite you on a journey to go beyond where you've gone before. I invite you on a journey to sit still and listen and wait for a door. The voice inside that says, come with me and let me show you what I have. The voice inside that lets you see, lets you be, lets you move, lets you breathe, and lets you live eternally from planet Earth to what you cannot see. I invite you to come along with me as we move past what we can see with our physical eyes and move into the great prize, the greatest prize, this relationship inside. And this is my other thought, and I'm just going to share. There are many who have such a strong belief in what they believe that they separate from anyone that believes differently. From the person who believes the Bible is the beginning and the end of everything and take it literal, to the person who believes that the Bible is all allegorical, to the person who believes that the Bible is spiritual, the person who believes it's literally the Word of God, the words from God, to the person who believes that it is God, to the person who believes that it's a book written by man, inspired, but still, when it's gone through a gazillion interpretations, that there has to be error in it. Was the inspiration an error? I don't believe so. But can man make mistakes? Yes, man can. Man can control things. As we see, there are some concepts literally created by church groups over centuries that were created literally to control people groups, to keep them dumbed down, to keep them in a place where they don't think for themselves, they only do what they're told. It's called compliance. Compliance without thought. Compliance without thought is the most dangerous thing that we have. And God, the Creator, takes us beyond compliance without thought. Why do you think there have been movements, religious movements over time, where a man or a woman defied the structure in place, which at the time, it was considered extreme disobedience. It was considered heresy. And yet later in life, those were now are looked at as, oh, the father of this, the mother of that, the creator of this, the creator of that, the reformation of this, the reformation of that. And so if you settled in on what you believe, and that's it, and that's the end of it, that's okay. But do yourself, give yourself a tool of life where you don't separate yourself from people that believe differently than you. Because you never know when the bones someone has you chew on might be good soup for you to cook later. There might be nutrients for you one day. Because just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's not the life of the God within you. Doesn't mean it's not the life of the Christ. Doesn't mean that it's not the supernatural world God has for you to bring you living and moving and breathing more and more and more in the one who lives and moves and breathes inside of you. I am convinced there's so much more to explore. I'm convinced that there's more to God than meets my eye, that I want to get to know the one who lives inside, that I don't want any dogma to get in my way, because I want the one who lives inside me every day to reveal to me truth, not written in a book, not written by a man, but written by the life of God that expands and keeps expanding. What is it that the telescopes see today? They see the planets, they see the galaxies literally expanding every day, literally expanding. How can they see what's expanding? How can they see it? They've created tools to be able to see beyond what we could see 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and yet, was there not people thousands of years ago that knew that we were beyond the stars that we can see? Now we see the stars are a gazillion miles away. They knew it then. We're only just discovering it. Why? Because now we can see it. So if you have to see in order to believe, then you're no longer in faith anyway. Faith is believing what you can't see, trusting in what you can't see, taking action because you can't see, not because you can see, not because you can see. Faith is taking action when you don't understand. Faith is trusting the voice inside that will cause you to land on strong rock, strong, still, peaceful strength, because that's where you are already. That's who you live in already. That's who we came from already. And I believe the revelation is, will we come into agreement with who we already are? You know? Do you understand what I'm saying? Have you really truly fully developed who you really are on this planet? Maybe you're supposed to go beyond who you are now. Maybe you're already who you are, and it's just you to have eyes to see, you to open your else to see. And I think back to my time on the couch when I was lifted up by the spirit of joy. I think back to the time when I was a little girl, when I was given the opportunity to go inside the supernatural world. I think back to the times the invitation came and I said no. That was part of my DNA. I said no. Listen, I've now said yes. I've now said yes. At 61, I've said yes to what I could have said yes to then, but didn't. I don't have regret. I don't think, wow, If I'd only, although part of me does, part of me goes, wow, if I'd have just said yes and stayed with it and gone through all the over the river and through the woods that was offered to me with holding the hand of the one who made me. What safer place is there to be? What other eyes? What other eyes do we want to see? We want to see through the eyes of the one who created us. The invitation that was given to me so young. Gosh, there's no telling what I would have done with my world, with my life. So I've been given another opportunity to know the Christ inside, to go on an adventure, to go on a ride that defies human definition, that is different than the book of definition. That offers a journey into life and love. I invite you into the journey of life and love. I invite you to know who you really are. I invite you to move beyond what you see. I invite you into true identity. True identity. True identity is there is no fear. True identity is seeing the one who is more than near. True identity is the love within. True identity is reaching in and seeing that we are limitless. So I invite you with me on this journey to see. I bless you today. Thank you for being here. I bless you. And gosh, let's see what else we have in store the next time we come to another door. And I'd love to know experiences you've had. I'd love to know the voice inside of you that has led you into adventure outside of the parameters of our earthly space. That would be beautiful. I'm going to leave you with my last encounter. When I was even smaller than the time when I was invited to make a decision to hold the hand of the one who lived inside, I remember encountering and being at the space of creation, co-creating with the one who lived inside, the one I was co-joined with, co-creating. It was before I came to this planet, but yet I remember it from when I was on this planet. I remember the time when I was created. I remember the time when humanity was birthed. I remember the time when the planets came into being. I remember that time when I was seeing. That was when I was on this earth, and I still said no to what God invited me into. It would be like a new birth. I still said no. Why? Because it was fear. I was not indoctrinated yet then, but fear will shut you down. Fear will tell you be afraid that you'll make a wrong turn. Fear will tell you there's some mistakes that you can never unlearn. Fear will tell you darkness will take you captive. Fear will tell you there's no turning back if you take a turn into learning something new that might take you away from the one who lives inside. But I say the one who lives inside you is one you can never be away from, because wherever you go, there is the one who made you. I say you can never separate yourself from the love of God. I say that there is no separation at all, period. There's none, there's zero. No matter what mistakes you've made, no matter what you believe, no matter what you don't believe, on this planet, you get to receive the voice inside that has adventure for you, that has life for you, that wants to show you where you came from, that wants to show you where you return to, that wants to show you how to live this life, that wants to show you a multi-dimensional life of Christ. I bless you today. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to our next time. Until soon, this is Donna Reiners, and remember, it's always a new day with Donna Mae. And we do love to solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. Today, I hope it was yours. I know every day it feels like it's mine. Until soon.